out of here, so
Yep.
we're already late starting, of course.
I know, right?
No, that's 5 minutes ahead, so don't worry.
We're only 2
But
minutes.
that's really, that's bad. Jim set the fast so we can be early.
That's right.
Of course, he's always late getting here. So.
Oh.
I think it's relative.
He was
Einstein's
here
relative
before I
theory,
was, and I was on
right? So we're just experiencing time-space
We are.
distortion, that's all.
All right, well, let's get started. I don't know if anybody else, who else would eat? Nobody. Doug, maybe.
I think Bob got stuck in his office after talking to me, so he might not make it. I think Bob Green he might have gotten stuck.
Okay,
He was still on there,
okay.
All right, well, we'll jump into it here. The first item was a community choice aggregate electric. We had a Zoom call with Glenn Weinberg from Jewel on the 23rd of March, and I'll just summarize some of the dates here. There's an RFP out now. They're waiting to hear back from various ESCOs, energy suppliers. And the reply is due April 19th. There's another webinar on April 20th at noon with Glenn. And he'll give us numbers that they get back from these ESCOs, if they get any back. And then that's the reason we put off our finance committee meeting to the 27th. So that we would have those numbers available for the town board to review and start thinking about what we want to do from there. And by May 3rd, there's a memorandum of understanding that would be due, so, you know, if we decide to go ahead, we'll have that information. That's pretty much it. I mean, it took an hour and 15 minutes for him to say that, but
Wonder how long it takes to actually roll out the numbers.
yeah. Right, 2 hours. Because I don't know, that's probably with everybody that they're dealing with at this point in time, you know, hopefully we're first. All right. Up to any questions? Wanted to update on County Road 28 sewer.
All right, so County Road 28 sewer, your quick update is you guys have the preliminary engineering report, the map plan report. The town has it, the county has it. It's asked you guys both, we talked to the county yesterday, so same thing. If you guys can get us any comments on the report in the next couple of weeks, we can address those comments and finalize that report. The county is currently monitoring the flow down near 332 for this extension. That data is supposed to come to us in May. Once that is done, then we can complete the flow study report, and then I think we have at least agreement then from the county to proceed to talk to the public based off what we have in the preliminary engineering report.
Where's the county 28 or county road 28 report?
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's if you want.
There's a paper copy and then there's a digital copy that I'll send to some.
Please.
So I mean, probably
From the county,
at
what the,
at the May Public Works meeting, we might be able to talk about,
Those numbers.
you know, setting up something for an information meeting.
when do you expect to hear back from the county?
Oh, they're supposed to get us the data in May, because they were supposed to go March, April, then May. For data collection.
That's working okay with them.
They had a little problem with their flow meter, but I guess they got a new meter and they
Yeah.
got something working out, yeah. We went out and surveyed the manholes, and we confirmed that the record drawings are accurate enough for what we're doing. Yeah.
So it's flowing well.
Yes,
Right.
still, yeah,
Downhill.
still going downhill, great.
All right, VA sanitary sewer update. We did have a session with them. When was it? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. We were
Greg and I both went and met with county and city yesterday for about an hour and a half. A lot of discussion on who's gonna own what. It's kind of an odd system now, not knowing that the county took over part of the sewer.
Yeah, apparently the county
1930s.
operates and maintains the section of
And-
sewer on Bushwood,
Yeah,
which is weird. That means that the
Yeah.
VA stops at the beginning of Bushwood and picks up after
after
Bushwood.
Bushwood, yeah,
Right.
it's weird, it's weird. Something
It's
back in
very odd.
1930. We discussed with the city, there's potentially 3 locations, but we're looking at hopefully using Ontario Street Extension, which is by the Moose Club, which turns into Carroll 4. That area there, and if the interceptor sewer in the city is deep enough, we'll see how far we level gravity first before we need a pump station. But all of that work to get that out from the VA to the city, we'll have the VA pay for all that.
Yeah. that's good.
Okay,
That's
and that will allow, that connection could allow for the future part of Route 21. And Grandview and Fallbrook to be gravity down to Ontario Street Extension and back to the city if we ever want to get sewer, at least to that part also.
So this would open it up, make it a little easier to do that.
That's the goal, yeah, okay, so we're gonna meet again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think we're meeting again on 4/27.
Yep.
To kind of just reconvene, everyone had a little bit of homework to do, county and the city had some homework to do. So you get ready for this next meeting, but a lot of it was just talking with the powers that be and then understanding we need to bring them into the discussion with the VA and their A&E firm, West Point Engineering.
How was it received from the city? Is everybody willing to?
That's good.
Yeah,
Both were
no
willing.
one's against
Who
it.
was there?
Jim Sprague.
Jim Sprague.
Sprague, Tim McElligott and Bill Wright,
Bill Rance.
so
There was a study done in 2000.
yeah,
We
by
have another
by
company.
Tobin Engineering or
So
something
the
like that out of
counties
Florida.
had this on their radar for years now that something was coming. And so was the city. So it wasn't like a
It's not as,
surprise.
right,
So this time it sounds like though they want to move forward, the VA wants to move
Yes.
forward, with getting rid of the sewer treatment plant due to the age and the cost to upgrade it. So. Well, like I said, Greg said there's some homework that has to be done still on figuring out who's gonna own what and what has to be repaired and how far can we go gravity from the city. The city actually would like to see a little more sewer at that end also.
I think it was interesting, just because I think Bill Wright probably has the right approach for these guys, just gonna tell them, this is what you need to do, and don't give them, multiple options or whatever,
The
just say,
VA.
yeah, it's like, this is what you
Yeah,
have to do.
it, because
Yes.
it's beneficial to them and
Yeah.
it's gonna save them money in the long run. Versus the millions of improving the plant, right,
Yeah,
And then maintain it.
and then maintaining it, so they'll be more than willing to.
right,
It sounds like that, Jared, but I think. I think we're comfortable with 3 municipalities getting us to move forward. Okay,
Great discussion about that section of Bushwood being taken
They're gonna-
into.
so it sounds like one of the things we're gonna tell them is that they have to run all new sewer down, so they're gonna, wherever the county picks up, it's gonna be new sewer down on County Road 4.
Are we talking about taking that over from them or?
The county is, the county will, because there's gonna be pieces that'll just go straight from the VA to the county, and then there'll be pieces that will be in the town district that will have an IMA for the county to operate and maintain. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, so I think if the more we can get the city, the county, the town, and the VA people, the more meetings we have, the more likelihood we can get in the right direction.
You want it all to flow smoothly.
Yeah, yeah, we don't wanna back up.
But like Terry mentioned, was there any discussion, because I know that's one of the thoughts was that whole Grandview area. I know the concern was the topography of that area and going through that.
Well, it's also that and it's rock,
it's
Right,
rock.
right.
yeah, and road.
The
What would
good thing
the,
about the railroad is the railroad's owned by the county IDA. And so Bill said, look, that,
Don't worry about
don't worry about it. He's like,
Right.
it's not like you're dealing with the federal government, you're dealing with the county IDA.
Yeah.
So you should talk to them.
So if there's a chance, and I'm sure this is in the back of our minds, if there's a chance to tie those in,
is part of this now,
Um,
or would that create?
I'm not sure the VA is gonna, there's no, as long as we can show that whatever we're putting in services the VA, I think the VA is gonna put it in. But if we run a leg up just to service Grandview Park, they're gonna say no, because I'm like, why?
Right.
But that could always be a special district waiting.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
that's correct.
What would this do to the cost of that project in Grandview? We looked at before.
You're gonna take off.
I mean,
Yeah, you're gonna take off like, probably $500,000, if not more, of expenses, because the force main, the connection, the pump station, that'll all be done, and then we can. Like I was telling these guys yesterday, I was like, if we can at least get a step forward where we have sewer on County Road 4, that means we're a step closer to getting it to the other location that we wanna get it to. It's just, we gotta show some sort of progress.
And they can tie in.
How far down
for
the
everything.
lane, or are you talking about?
Basically to where maybe there's a crest, right before the outlet, so it's probably like one house pass or a couple houses past that crest. That's probably all you can pick out.
But the other thing is we've had requests from residents along the 21 further out for sewer, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, could that all be wrapped into a special district in the future? But you can evaluate that after there's some time.
But if now they can tie in with gravity
Mhm.
versus in other ways,
Hope that.
well, it's a heck of a lot better for them.
Apparently, the interceptor sewer on Leicester Street is very deep.
Right.
So obviously survey has to be done, but,
That'd be good.
so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, overall, I think we had a good
That's excellent.
discussion yesterday with all the
Good.
parties to be,
Yeah, we talked about the county, give them design standards, and talked about, limits of ownership. Wholesale versus EDU costs, and we covered the whole gambit. Try to, get them, prep for all the different things, like the VA discharge, it could be something subject to an SIU for pretreatment.
It's an SME.
Significant industrial user, just because they have the laundromat facility, that'd be fairly strong waste. So all those things, we just kind of put on the table to discuss it. But, there was a study done in 2020, but it doesn't sound like a lot of this information was in there.
no,
So.
No.
I talked, I said, it sounds like we need some updated engineering numbers. So,
West Point engineers will take care of it all.
sure they will.
Right.
Yep.
What they say. When's the next meeting scheduled with them? Wasn't it a month from the last one?
Terry, I had, they
Yeah,
sent
I
out
think it was.
an email last week, I don't recall what the date was.
I think he said a month from
Yeah,
now.
something like
The
that.
last one was, but a few weeks out.
If you have that on your schedule, can you send that out to me?
Yeah, what I should do is, they sent out this Teams.
Yeah, like the sound of that.
Okay, I'll have to get,
Just
I'll
to
have
be
to
out.
send it, then I'll get them to send it to you
Okay.
guys, because you need to create it. so
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna
So,
jump in on it like that.
Okay, anything else on this one? Sounds like, no. Electroscan update. You guys are coming in sometime soon.
the week of the 17th, they'll be coming, we put the one insert point on Foster Road this week. Monday, we're doing the one Cooley Road, and then I think Tuesday or Wednesday, we're doing the one down by, north of you, Terry, on Little Cheshire Road. They'll be here for roughly 3 days and we're doing Bristol Road. Now Bristol Road, because they don't have a good place to discharge that volume of water without washing somebody out. We're gonna use what's called the Trident. So what it is, it only goes 300 feet each way from each hydrant location to inspect the pipe. Versus the Delta, which can go up to 3,000 of inspecting the water. So we'll get,
That's what would be used on the other road.
yes, because we got areas to discharge. We have to move like 2.5 feet per second in order to carry this device down through.
When you're doing Cooley, so I can know all those phone calls.
Well, it won't affect you. Everybody did receive a letter about when we're turning the water off for a few hours, so, but,
It's about 2 hours in the water.
well, just to do the insertion point, 2 to 3 hours, depending on what's in the way.
Just gonna be like middle of the day weekdays kind of.
I do it after 9.
afterwards.
Yeah, I've been doing everything after 9, but I did send letters out to all the residents who are affected in the area, so they know what's going on. So that was done last week by Courtney.
Alright.
So, and after that, we'll have a report back early May of condition of the pipe and data to review, and we'll see what comes of it to understand what we have in the ground. I know we took a piece out on Foster Road. It was punky, you know, on top.
Is that an official term?
It is, you know, it's like, you know, like wood that's rotted, it's kind of soft on top,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
punky, you know,
Like
it's.
Play-Doh on the outside.
Yeah, so, but be interested to see what Cooley Road looks like when that piece comes out, if it's the soil conditions,
Was that put in, was that around the same age?
all the same, within the same year,
All the same
67,
age.
68.
So, yeah,
So why did you choose these particular locations?
Well, one was a straight run, so we're, because they don't do well around bends.
Yeah, we had to change some of our
Some of our
locations.
locations and going through valves doesn't do well with that. The other was down near Terry's house. The soil seems to be hotter, I mean, it's
More corrosive?
corrosive to the pipe itself. And it's also corrosive to the copper. It actually makes it look like flakes it.
Mhm.
Okay, the copper. So we're testing the south end. Because due to not only that over the years of wiring breaks, we've noticed the pipe has been a little punky, as I said, on the outside.
Mhm.
So we're trying to determine, is it just this one area? Or is it anywhere south of, say, a 5 and 20, John? And then is the north end not affected by the soils?
And this is really a strategically, kind of see how it works test, right?
As when,
Well, so, yeah, we haven't used this before.
No.
right? And so
Really new
we're checking it out to
technology.
see how effective it is. And if it is effective, then it could be a solution for other areas as well, right?
well, yes, but again, this is something that we budgeted for. So for the 3 days, we're going to spend around $60,000 for us to do this. The goal is to get the data so we can then, if it shows poor piping, we can start looking for money and we have information to place it, because I'm not sure if I mentioned before, like,
But this was a more cost-effective solution doing this.
yes, so
Well, it's more like, there isn't really a good way to do it, because the only other way to do it is like to dig it up
Digging it
and
up.
cut out sections, so this was the least
Like in
invasive,
situ.
I guess.
yeah, then you have to send it to a lab to be deconstructed, basically to, Greg and I and Terry, we've been talking about this for a while. There was this study done in University of Indiana, was it?
I think it was one of the southern states,
Yeah,
right,
Alabama or Arkansas,
Something
one of
like
those.
Yeah, if I remember, they hadn't done this around here, had they?
It's
no,
down in, I mean, they use it a lot out west, because they're really concerned about water
There's
loss.
water loss out there.
Yeah.
These guys, the hotter soils, the low pH soils attack the AC, the seeded concrete, calcium, leaches the calcium out. It gets kind of mushy on the outside or funky.
Yeah.
And it degrades from the outside in, whereas other pipe, some of the older metallic degrade from the inside out, so.
Interesting to see these results.
yeah, it will be.
It's basically predicting water main breaks essentially, right? And you
Well,
know where
not only
you gotta
that,
go
but
first.
I'm hoping that at the end of the day that we'll be able to provide the town data to say, you have your life expectancy is X.
Yeah.
So we have to start doing
we can
this
budget and get.
for future plans.
Exactly.
Might be the same bedding
Right.
as our roads.
And how much, this was really expensive,
Yes,
to put,
expensive.
wasn't it? It was,
Well, it's about 20,000 a day
yeah,
to do it,
Yeah.
so. It's
How many-
not, it's,
How many miles of ACP
we have
pipe?
50-ish miles of ACP pipe.
yeah, we had a lot. I remember that.
Yeah, we have a lot.
It's not bad.
No.
Hey, I'd
50
rather,
miles.
I'd rather. have
3,000
50
feet a
miles.
day. Just keep here all year.
Yeah,
We'll be there for your
It's going faster than the AC.
You can sleeve water, you can sleeve it.
it's not gonna,
I don't know, it's a question we'll have to decide later on, that folks.
You do it sanitary, so the water stuff.
Water's
Yeah.
tough,
That's
yeah.
Yeah, water's really tough. The Monroe County does lining projects, but you know, at the end of the day, unless you feel like the carrier pipe itself is still awesome, there's no sense in trying to give it a new inside if the outside's
The
rotten.
outside's falling apart.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, sometimes, because they use it in places where like the restoration's gonna be really expensive.
Mhm.
So they're trying to find any trenchless way to
do
do it, but you know.
Well, and
Grand
NCP
scheme.
stands for again,
Asbestos concrete.
yeah, things we don't want punky, I would imagine.
Punky's okay, it's when it's dry and
It's dry
fried.
and friable
Yeah.
seniors,
Yeah.
right?
I'll send you a video, you guys, of this factory in the sixties of how they made AC pipe.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
I was gonna say, it's pretty disturbing. when
It is.
Asbestos just
Oh, yeah.
like floating about.
Well, I had a box under my bed growing up that my grandmother had my dolls in, and the box was an advertising box that literally said, clean, safe, asbestos. I'm like, Mom, why is this under my bed? Clean, safe,
Yeah.
asbestos.
All right.
2 out of 3.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the transfer station. You sent out, well, we've had numerous
Yeah, I think
communications. from,
I think I finally sent you guys all the deliverables from our proposal, so I think we're closed out on that at this point in time. So you now have a budget, you have a plan, you have programming. That's one of the things in there. In building sections. To help you guys make your decisions. Now, one thing I'm trying to figure out with that transfer station is whether or not it would qualify for an MWRR grant. And what that might, you know, what the order of magnitude is. I've done a lot of MWRR grants on like compost facilities, but I also know if they do include transfer. I just don't know what the magnitude and what it is. I think the way you guys might qualify is because there is a component that you guys take for waste, organic waste, food waste, that may help us. So we'll see.
What's the acronym MWRR?
Yeah, good. I don't know.
Oh,
It's
it's
municipal
municipal
waste
waste
reduction,
reduction,
something.
something.
Yeah,
Well, we got it before, but it was more associated with our programming and stuff, so there might be a way for us to tie that into.
Yeah, I think, because your overall budget is like about 5, and mind you, that's based off of bid numbers. Publicly bid numbers, so, you know, depending on how much the town wants to tackle.
That's 5,000.
Yeah, with another 3 zeros.
Yeah. So, it all depending upon, you know, what the, you know, how the town wants to do that. If they want to do the work themselves, we probably save 20 to 30%. With the town performing the majority of that work. Some of that work we probably won't perform.
The site work,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and the site component, it definitely, the building and the foundation, some of that maybe not a great idea in that particular case, but at least you have a number to kind of budget for, plan for. So if we get an MWR grant that, you know, was like a 50%, then at least you'd only be looking at 2.5, right? So.
But you're gonna base that on the amount of food waste that we collect.
Well, that might be one of the triggers that helps us qualify for the grant. Because a lot of it has to do with, you have to show waste reduction.
What about organics? And what
Well,
about,
that's what I'm saying.
what about the debris and
Or,
everything
you know,
else?
That much larger volume.
Yeah.
Mhm. So all that stuff would be kind of things we'd have to probably use to help.
Okay.
Anything that can leverage
make our-
it,
Yeah, exactly. So that's the matter, I guess, you know, I gotta sit down with Rhonda and Matt Horn and, you know, go through what we have and try to see if there's a way we can find a fit.
And we
Last,
talked about getting out ahead of.
Yeah, you have the seeker.
Secret.
So at the
that's-
next board meeting, and just so everyone knows, I'm the completing seeker doesn't commit you to doing a project, it's just
Yeah,
makes it complete and environmental, right? So we're all set at this point, so.
we put that on the
That's
April
on the
7th.
agenda.
Yeah, that's already, it's, in Lance already sent the stuff over.
Okay. I was a little surprised at the 5 million, I'll say that.
Come on, how can you be surprised? This is
But then I thought, this is coming from MRP.
Oh.
You know, it's funny,
The
it's
first-
just
the-
this
listen,
morning-
The M in MRB stands for money.
Just this morning, I was looking at the 2015 study, because I'm putting something in the AR about that, and it was 1.1.
Yeah.
In 2015.
Well, there was, yeah, but we didn't have buildings.
There
I
was
think-
some,
There
there
was
was some.
They were like a, it was a shed.
Well, it wasn't
So, yeah, it wasn't
expensive.
that
That wasn't like what we have today.
Yeah.
MRP has more mouths to feed. now.
Few more slates now, expensive little grader.
All right, Jim, you're doing all the work over there.
No.
We'll pay for your gas. for the commute.
line, the lead and copper proposal. from
Oh,
MRV.
lead and copper. So this is driven by the EPA. It's an unfunded mandate that the Department of Health is.
Not entirely
Oh,
unfunded,
okay.
not entirely unfunded.
Okay, so.
This first step is.
The first step is,
It's the EPA, so it's a federal, not entirely unfunded mandate. That's why
Right.
it's not entirely unfunded.
and then the state Department of Health has taken on and put, as our state usually does, makes it more difficult, more restrictive. Because of the data that they are going to be collecting, so. I have it up here, I didn't print it off, I was kind of running late, and what we're looking to do with MRB is. Before we do that, let me try this.
You wanna pull up that
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation?
Okay, so,
So this was just presented at Finger Lakes Waterworks, to kind of run through the lead and copper rule revisions. And the first step of this whole thing, let's rewind. The reason for this is Flint, Michigan, right? So Flint, Michigan, then we had the bipartisan infrastructure law. That's where this whole program got its funding. So this initiative is all born from Flint, the bipartisan infrastructure law. Now, basically, what they're trying to tell everybody is you need to inventory your lines. And when we talk about, if you page through, when you inventory your lines, it's not just knowing what the town owns, the municipality owns. We also need to know what's going from the curb stop to the house, and we also need to know essentially what's in the house, right? You have to know all those factors,
yeah.
right? So, and there's some very, interesting nuances, because, yeah, so you can kind of see, they have,
And the
there's,
feds are telling us we have to do this inventory?
yeah, it's through the
That's-
EPA, but it's enforced by the DOH. So the compliance timeframe is sometime in 2024.
Yeah.
We have to have our inventory done. We don't have to have our lead service lines eliminated at that point in time, but we have to have the inventory completed. What makes it complicated is that, if you have a polyethylene line, okay, that's considered non-lead. If you have a copper line, that's considered non-lead. If you have a galvanized line, that can be considered non-lead. However, if there was lead piping upstream from it, it is now lead. Clear as mud, right?
Yeah.
So there's some specific nuances of there are lead line galvanized piping also needs to be removed. And again, you have to know the owner side and the house side for that material.
Right.
A lot of times people will have good documentation on what's municipally owned, because water main goes in, services go in, we know what that is, and then a lot of times there's a delay between that point, plus it's done by a private contractor, so you don't really know what's on the other side. One of the first steps that we have is that lead piping was banned in 1986. Originally, our thoughts were to use that 1986 date and just look at homes constructed pre-1986, and those fall into the unknown category, and then everything after that would be considered non-lead. Now, from this meeting though, they told us that there's a little bit of a gray zone because a lot of times the pipe and the services went in before the CFO for the house. So the timing that is, if you're better apt to say 1987 is newer, just because the contractors that had this lead material on the back of their truck, whatever, it's not like they just threw it in the trash. They more than likely put it in the ground, and use it up real quick, because it was just banned. Kind of a scenario that's fairly typical. So the lead, this is all about going through and documenting what you know, and that's this whole exercise. So what we would be doing for the town is help building this database using the GIS to help establish what we know is known, unknown, and lead. And just realize that your unknown and your lead all fall in the same pool. It's only your knowns that are something you don't have to take action on.
So this is really characterizing the entire distribution system. I mean, looking at our lines in the ground, going up and down roads, curb stops into houses, and then what's used in the house. Which means you have to go into the house, look, test, And what years of construction?
87.
If we say 1987 and newer, you can,
Right off.
yeah, you just say those are all in the non.
So they're coming to your house, Derek.
So this prompts some
The
questions.
guy used all plastic in my house.
If we
Yeah.
find lead
I've had to replace a lot.
and unknown, we're obligated to replace it.
Not unknown.
Well,
I mean, once it's known, then it falls into a
Then
category of lead or non-lead. But if it's lead, then the lead, you have there's a requirement to
And if
replace.
it's galvanized that previously had lead feeding in it, it's.
Right,
yeah.
so if someone had a galvanized service from the curb stop in, but there was a lead service line from the
And
curb
it's-
stop to the main, then that all is considered lead.
But historic lead, you mean, it's not just currently if it was lead. by
No, it's like
the-
whenever, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
So from the curb stop to the home generally is the homeowner's responsibility.
That's what I'm.
Who's gonna be obligated to replace that?
See, now you're into the wondrous
Yeah,
realm
that's
of,
what I'm
the
wondering.
Fed made a rule and they don't really know how to
Yeah,
implement
that's
it.
what I'm wondering about.
Okay,
I
so
think-
Because it's gonna come down to, more likely, it's gonna be municipality's responsibility to replace. But
from the
there,
curb
but
stop to
there,
the house.
right, but there may be grant dollars available to municipalities for those types of
And what
replacements.
about the home itself?
Not the home.
The homeless.
Understanding what's in the home is only more for your sampling.
Yeah.
Cause you have to know what their plumbing is as it relates to
And then the other thing, that we go back to the home, is once this data is collected and it's become public information.
Mhm.
Let's say you want to sell your home. And they're gonna say, what year was
You
it
had lead
built?
pipes.
They're gonna say, did you abate or what have you done?
Yeah,
And if you haven't done it, you could be forced to sell to
do it,
do it.
or.
Well,
supply
So
funding
it
for
could
that.
be part of the public record held by the town. And at the time of the transaction, the buyer could go and research through the town whether the home had been abated or not abated, or ask the question, right?
So
Or
here-
maybe
here's
it
here's your
become
real,
a requirement that you
Just
divulge
like it is a
it.
lead paint.
yeah, so here's your real fun is that once you've established what your lead, your unknowns and your non-lead characteristics, you have an obligation to notify your lead and your unknowns that they may have lead.
Right. We do it once a year.
That-
Oh.
Yes, so I'm just, you're gonna mail it out to a bunch of people, they're gonna be
Once a
like,
year.
you might have lead. So, and then,
Has to be annual?
and then you'll,
Annual.
and then you have to provide them
We have to
with
track
test kits, or test kits.
So let me ask a couple other
Continually.
questions. They expect this to be done across the country.
24.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And what is the punishment for those municipalities that don't do this?
It'll be a violation. You'll, I mean, if you can get a violation and then, your operators can be in jeopardy.
But it's enforceable by the New York State Department of Health, you said. right?
Yeah.
so they're-
Well, I mean, unless it gets severe, then, I mean, we
And the
remember we
EPA
ended up
does.
once on double secret probation, right? And so, for no apparent reason, but,
Right.
you know,
Us or
Good
us or
impact
you
on
guys,
the roads.
MRB or us?
Oh, they could come in and take
Never
over
me.
and start.
Cause I don't wanna
Doing
hear
what
that
they
double
think
secret
should be done.
probation stuff. I've seen enough of
Well, that's
that.
cheap.
I probably lose my license and so would the other guys, so.
Mhm.
So basically, we will be responsible to mediate anything from initially from any of our delivery lines
anything that's
up to
called-
up to the curb.
anything that falls into lead. Is if
And
it's
then-
considered lead service, then yeah, you gotta replace it.
So, last,
Non-lead, you don't.
last question I have. Many people are being provided the water by the city.
Mhm.
But the feeds, the piping is owned by the town.
We just purchased one.
We buy the
We're
water
all
from them.
getting just from city.
Yeah.
We distribute it.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about ownership though, I mean, like our mains, well, I don't know, is there some mains where we're pulling off the city main with a.
There are, Westlake.
I was gonna say Westlake Road, yeah, but it's limited, you're only talking about a handful of houses.
That's what initiated my question, because there were,
Probably good 60 houses.
I was gonna say there were 12 or 13 houses originally that were
Yeah,
being
so I thought there was like
fed
maybe
by
a dozen or
the
so down
city
there.
water through their backyards.
Oh, yeah, no, this, I'm talking about going north.
But then they
Oh,
went and
okay.
put in the main.
Yep.
And they expected us all to tap off for that.
Yeah, I was part of that fun time.
Did we put in the name, the town?
The town put it in 86, we put that water
Wait a
main.
minute, why didn't you say 87?
In 86.
Well, I mean,
Because where you live,
long as it's
where you currently
documented, that's the whole
live, there was
thing.
that 2-inch line that was private or whatever.
Right.
Because when the town put in that water main, the folks in your area said, I have water, why should we tap into it? So I don't think, only a handful of people did, and then when the 2-inch main had a problem, DOH said, you're done,
Yes.
we're out. You're
And
forced.
they
to
just all
get
tie
that.
in.
Yes.
So I mean, the town has a back truck, so I mean, one of the things is, we can pothole services and try to figure it out, so. That can help a little bit, but it's, we don't wanna pothole, 1,200 yards, or
No.
1,500 yards, but.
I don't,
We're probably not gonna be that bad though, because your system's relatively new.
the one area of concern that I had is along the lake, and the reason is because 50+ years ago, our lake was galvanized to feed from the lake into their house.
Yep.
Did they connect the water main with the galvanized?
Mhm.
So those are areas of concern for me. Anything away from the lake, I think we're gonna be okay. All right, because there wasn't,
I mean, for the
We've
last
never
20 years,
came
we've been
across-
using plastic.
and we never see lead above it, but along the lake is potential that.
I think you're absolutely right, that's what my opinion is.
A lot of these tear downs that are happening, that's probably taken care of some.
It is, 'cause they go back and replace it.
You just have to watch the service on
Right.
Way to do the glass half
the
full.
mega mansion.
Our water guys are gonna have to visit each of these
So
houses and go in and walk.
you're right, but the good news is we're replacing meters.
Yes, they are.
So
At the same time.
yeah, so when we go in, we'll do the actual, add it to our list already of what was there and take photos.
Nice.
Part of that proposal is helping build the
Classic
GIS
asset
system
places.
for them, so they can enter in that data. While they're doing it, that way they can do everything, online in real time.
Do we have anything in the ground distribution wise that
It's
would
like,
be a problem there?
Talking
we
about
should,
mains, sewer main, or water mains.
Yeah.
no, we don't have anything that has lead, 'cause we don't have old ductwork cast that was packed with lead.
Right.
Okay, we don't have to worry about that. The one area, and this is an odd, I'm not sure how it's gonna work, because the city feeds Westlake Road, part of it. I'm sure that stuff's been around for 100 years,
Yeah,
quite possible,
that's where you might
Yeah.
see it.
but it's fed by the city, but they're in the town, so who's doing what?
Well, the city
So-
falls
so-
under the same, they have the same responsibility, right, to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
But
So-
whose is it though? That's gonna be the argument.
yeah, that's something I've
Yeah.
thought about, now, nothing we're gonna solve today, it's just something
No,
that
no,
comes to my
but
mind.
Probably
It'll
have to
be
share a
revealed in
database
this
with those guys.
inspection, so.
Yeah.
Question back about your galvanized pipe though, so galvanized pipe is being okay unless it was previously fed by lead, correct?
Or, I mean, they also have lead line galvanized pipe,
Okay.
that's a thing.
Because the galvanized pipe coming from the lake on the Westlake Road houses was usually literally directly into the lake and not being fed by any piping. So it might actually be less of a problem than you think, because I think they did most of it in the late 80s, early 90s, but most of the road anyways.
For
And then they
Westlake
were,
Road.
yeah, and then they were obviously not connecting with the piping, so.
Right.
But if it's obviously coming directly from the lake, there's no lead pipe, it's just galvanized from the lake, so.
Plus it's lead lined.
Yeah, unless it's like.
And, this lead copper rule, the rule isn't finalized, so the galvanized may actually also end up in the lead category.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
That's also a possibility, everyone's kind of hinted towards it.
Oh, okay,
So-
alright, so then I understand that concern a lot more then.
Yeah.
What was it?
The only other thing on that data stuff is somehow then we're gonna have to figure out how to cross that over and put that information in the property file, essentially the electronic, because it's all
Mhm.
cloud-based now through the Laserfish system.
Yeah, I mean, because you can run queries on the GIS and download, a database that you can then import elsewhere.
Is that an encore too?
And it's not.
That's not-
No, it's our online
Yeah.
ArcGIS.
So, where we're going with this is, that's not what I was looking for, I was looking for.
When would this,
Dan saying
next
something.
year, you
Yeah,
said?
I'm looking for.
Sometime in 2024. I
thought
want
I
it says
put it
like
in here.
like summer 2024, like June, July, something like that.
And
That's
part
gonna
of
be
your
quick.
review is going to reveal how many houses have to be.
Well,
inspected,
so what
have
you're
to
gonna
look
end
at.
up with is you'll have a dashboard that'll basically say, here's all your known, here's all your unknown, and here's all your lead services.
I thought I see it there, I'm sorry, folks. So when I met with Dan and Greg 3 weeks ago about this, using our GIS software we have now, that when we're done, there's gonna be a map of every property, and it's gonna have different colors on it, yellow, a red, and a green.
Yeah, greens give,
Green's good, yellow means
Unknown.
maybe, and red means for sure.
yeah, red is lead.
And also in this, there will be all.
No, just realize that's an actual thing. Red is lead, it's just, we talk about that for like primers and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
if the primer's red, you know that that primer was lead based.
The,
But I guess my point is that you're gonna, anything after 87 doesn't need to be looked at.
Correct. Yeah, you can triage a good chunk of it.
The amount of development we've had in the town, building from 87 on, probably half of what we have, so. I mean, the number you're gonna have to actually survey is not the whole town, it's really it.
right, but
Well,
that's where,
Water either.
in part of the proposal, you're gonna get the information from the county on all the properties,
Mhm.
year built, so on and so forth. It goes to this huge spreadsheet of how we have to track it.
We have a historical survey.
Yeah,
that's
so I was
just
just gonna say
completed
that started
that
with the river
shows,
definition.
you'll. that-
Yeah, all the
that
data's there,
information's
so it's just a matter of manipulating and getting, yeah.
At the end of the day, you'll be able to go to this file and know who has what, where.
Yeah.
And then there, again, the town will have to track those who are a maybe or a yes, let them know, and annually do that and keep track of that. So probably become part of our sanitary survey, just like the backflow devices are. Every 3 years we get, have an audit. They come in, they sit down with us, we go through everything. They're gonna probably wanna see that also. As another part of what has to be done. I think MRB is gonna do, I know MRB is gonna do a majority of the data, to get it to a point, but when we get there, it's gonna be up to the town and to go out and physically start locating the stuff and putting it in the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Have you got the staff for that?
Oh. Well, just,
Well, we're talking about it, sure, we can get another guy.
No, I mean, that's a lot of work. to do.
It's a lot of work.
I'm saying
It's
it's
a
a time to say.
There we go.
I mean,
The budget season
All
coming
right.
up.
All right, Greg, thank you for
Right.
coming. We will see you.
They like to spread the money
Yeah,
around.
great job today and take care.
Most people living in relatively new houses, though.
like I said, I think maybe we'll talk about that later this fall. So we'll see how that goes.
I think one of the things is to let us get it through this process and then look and see what we have for unknowns. I mean, if the unknowns is, like I said, if it's like 3,000-4,000 houses, then yeah,
Look,
maybe
Here's
it's
how I
maybe
look
something,
at
but
it.
if it's
We're
not,
making progress.
Right.
With the DOH. If they want it done by a certain date, that's fine. We say, listen, we're trying, here's what we've done for you.
As long
And
as we're moving
we're gonna
forward.
keep
well,
going
no, but that
forward.
2024, you don't have to have,
No,
you don't have to have your unknowns resolved by 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
You just have to have your inventory
right.
set up, you know, as best you can. And then, like I said, as long as you're working towards narrowing down your unknowns, you're in a good position.
Let's just do one a year.
So buddy,
We're working on it, one a year.
one a year, we're gonna work that, okay,
Get
so.
done in
Yeah.
5 centuries.
All right, we have budget for this, it's in the budget, so it's not, something we have that money in the budget, so.
All right. Let's see, what's next on the list here? Proposals for North Road and Middle Cheshire Road.
These are
MRB.
outhouse and north, I don't know. if
Yeah,
it's-
Middle Cheshire Road isn't-
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I was,
That's We talked, I was able to get outhouse done first. Middle Cheshire Road is longer, so I wanted to go over a little bit more about this, the actual scope that we wanted to see from Middle Cheshire Road. Before I really jumped into that proposal, but you have a proposal for North Road. That's the sidewalk on the one side of the road scenario. Getting the sidewalk down North Road to East Street for the school kids.
Are you doing anything in there? I always, I just threw out there, I don't know if it's story time or not, but there's that weird little triangle, we talked about this before, Jim, up towards Tim Hortons. It just makes no sense, so I don't know if that is part of the design process to make that be at least look better than it does right now.
I guess we'll look at that, there's 2 sewer manholes,
Mhm.
stormwater, gas, water, and other utilities in that triangle that.
I'm also talking about the spot just north of it there, like, that's just, as you come out of Tim Hortons.
Where the road
You kind
used
of
to
go
go.
like this, and then the road used to be there, in
Yep.
that area too, but just something to
Just put a
tidy that
fountain-
up,
put a
it's a
fountain there.
mess.
Oh, we left that alone so they could get to their
Oh, I
driveway,
know,
you
but
know,
it just
but
needs to somehow,
maybe when we get to that point, we'll
put a bench or,
address.
I don't know what, I mean, whatever it may
Maybe
be.
MRB could put a fountain there.
Decorative. They could do it. Listen, it's your
This
new
is a
location
great
for your
idea.
free speech, right?
That's how we
Put a
can-
nice nice pavilion.
That's, but no, but that's how we can, when there's a water main break, and we need to flush the system, put it in the fountain. But anyway, something to make that make more sense anyway, I would like to have in the process.
No, that's the price.
Makes sense.
No, I know,
That's
I know,
just the sidewalk.
but at least you can make, like,
Cool.
put a little
But
lipstick on the pig and make it look.
I understand what you're saying,
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I know.
Yeah.
Especially because that's like a start.
The sign, you know what like the
It'll be
sidewalk
wide.
costs right now?
One
It's like
step in front of
$45
the
a
other.
square foot. Brutal.
So,
What did you say?
The sidewalk's about $45 a square foot.
Concrete.
Concrete.
You gotta be kidding me.
no.
It's ridiculous numbers.
Numbers right now.
I mean, if you're doing it yourself, it's cheaper, but I mean, if you're doing a public prevailing wage, yeah,
Right.
you're about 45.
That's
square.
crazy.
So then the outhouse road one is more expensive, but,
It's a little weird too.
well, I think we're
Well,
gonna
it's-
doing a fair amount of, park like setting, we're gonna have private center medians to more of a traffic and calming through there, sidewalk, treescaping. So I foresee that being expensive, but we own
We don't know.
everything, you know, that thing, we haven't got.
And it's, you're, the corridor that we're trying to fit in there, and some of the, I mean, just the idea that I've had was to slow the traffic down, was to put a raised center median, separate the lanes, narrow up the lanes a little bit, you'll have your, bike lanes, and then, a sidewalk, but that corridor width is like 42 feet, and I think our existing one is like only like, you know, whatever, it's like 28 feet. So I'm like, it's a pretty,
Quarter would mean the right of
so
way.
width from like edge of pavement to edge of pavement, you know, we'd be going to 42
Yeah.
from, you know, 28 feet,
I don't know about that.
right?
So would
20,
that
or maybe it's
allow-
might be 30 with the shoulders in.
Would that allow a crossing island if we're doing, I assume we're gonna do a crosswalk too?
Yeah, we'll have, I mean, there'll be crosswalks, but the idea, like I said, I just wanted to slow everything down as best we can, but the way I was thinking about that was, is if we could have trees, you know, on one side, trees in the middle, and narrow up those lanes, I think we'll, and, you know, some of the other ideas I have is the bike lanes, you know, maybe do those either with tinted asphalt, so it's a different color, so it, you know, it'll really give you the visual narrowing that you want for the driver to slow them down.
You want a true complete street with both sides sidewalks we're talking about? or-
I think we only had
One
one,
side.
because we're already at 42 feet across with just the one.
Yeah, your proposal says one sidewalk.
Yeah.
Sidewalk.
I would like to see a design with the potential for someday having it on both sides, because I can see that being a need someday. I mean, I can see we can't afford it yet, but just,
It's not that you can't afford it, I just don't know if there's enough width all the
Yeah,
way
we'll have to
across, because like
increase some
our
more.
pitch point then is now in where Motion Junction is
Mhm.
and where the park is.
yeah.
That'll be the limiting factor.
Mhm.
Correct. So we have those on the agenda. April.
Neither one of these were budgeted for, though,
I don't believe so, no.
but they could come out of the
The
capital.
resolution,
They
I'm
could.
getting a capital project.
Yeah, they could have come out of that for that.
Which we put 500 in there. right?
Oh, all right, number 8.
Hey, real quick, was there anything on Mills Dresser yet, or?
No, like I said, I want to sit down with these guys and go through a little bit, again, of the scope of it, just make sure I really understand what we're trying to do, because it's like almost 15,000 feet.
I'm
of
happy to
road.
be in on that too.
Okay.
The rest of it's just, another district. Okay.
So we were 8. future access road up Purdy Road to, and they've, Farmington Town Line Road. You guys had a meeting the other day with Mr. Janeco, I understand, so.
Yeah.
I was tied
You
up
did.
literally.
I was just anticipating.
You're just listening.
By the way, Leaf has some suggestions for names for that road, FYI, so.
Okay.
That are more historic than Purdy Road extension.
Janeco.
Well,
Boulevard.
don't know the call right now, so
I
I
this
think
is-
we're thinking like Orchard Lane or Produce Park, something to
He
fit,
had
Stella-
Wilder
Stella.
Tavern Road, I think. is
something
what
to
he
fit
said.
with a motif.
Cabbage Patch Road.
Cabbage Patch Lane, yeah, I like that.
No.
Watermelon Way.
But he, Wilder Tavern Road is one that he said.
Yeah.
Remember, this is being recorded, so we should stop.
Right, the next one. probably
Anyway,
takes
what, I wasn't.
So,
there,
It's all
just.
set, Greg's just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
So the timeline is, so Greg promised to have the road laid out. We're gonna lay out there's minor adjustments to the road. We're gonna flag it out.
Yeah. we'll send it out.
The goal is to have a July request for the MUO, which is all part of that whole change in the road process. And that was, the goal is at our July town board meeting. And then it would bounce to the planning board to come back to us. So our target is July. Target start date would be October,
Provided that Mr. Otello gets us the road by the end.
providing that
Yeah.
the road comes in and we get the road in April and that's acceptable. Trying to tie it in the best way to Mobile Road to maximize their land on Mobile Road, safest intersection, best flow. And then have the road in the right spot for drainage and
The water, or the water.
the water.
Is
But
that, that's
mostly,
gonna,
mostly drainage is the most important.
that is gonna connect though, Canada Farmington Town Line and Purdy, correct?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause you said mobile, I wasn't sure, you just saying the extra.
Oh.
connection.
It's
Oh,
intersection,
yeah.
Mobile Road
Yeah.
intersects it
Yeah.
and trying to clean that up. And bring the road in so Mobile Road can get that
Yeah.
at the best
Yeah,
location
right.
on the road and safest. And then it will connect, yes, it connects all the way to town line.
I apologize, everybody, I have a lot of
Okay.
clock.
See ya.
Okay,
Doug,
Doug, see you
happy
Easter.
Easter, buddy.
Have you used
You too.
I need so much chocolate.
Yeah.
Cleaning up Mobile Road is a good way to go.
And this will help with that. They have some challenges there that I didn't know about.
Oh,
You guys
Mobile
all knew about on Mobile Road.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know it was a dedicated road.
No, it's
It's
not.
not.
Oh, it's not?
No.
But
it's
their
not.
plan is so, and
They
their
would
plan
like
is to
that.
make some
I know.
improvements towards the new roadside. So then they can add some nicer properties on that side.
I saw some photographs that Mike had up yesterday of one of the manufactured homes at Mobile Road. We had a propane tank outside of the line going through the wall into. There's still a lot, I remember, I don't know if it was on the planning board, I think it was when I was on the planning board, that became kind of a crisis because some of those mobile homes up there, the septic tank.
They didn't have
underneath,
public
they're
water.
Underneath, you remember,
Yeah, they didn't have public water.
Dan O'Brien was the code enforcement guy at the time. And he'd been called up there to look at it, and there are several places where it's just draining out of the bathroom into an open.
Ugh.
And it was really,
And they had
That's
well
what-
water, like, so they
Oh.
tested their
Oh.
wells and all came back with E. coli.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Oh.
well, you're
That
wondering
was-
like why you didn't have a dysentery outbreak out of on Mobile
Yeah.
Road. It was bad.
that's what led to getting that line coming down from Farmington, and then we did help people get in touch with the Bishop Sheehan Foundation to come in and, grant money to hook
Right.
up to the
So it has-
line. And
It has
still-
improved. It's
Yeah,
still,
it has improved,
Got
but
it.
it's not real deep.
yeah, no, it's, right.
It's,
I'm gonna recommend not putting in lead pipes in there.
Yeah.
That's
It is
my
what it is.
recommendation.
yeah.
So, right, so yeah, so hopefully the July town board meeting. We'll have the MUO, and they're working with their architects to come up with a concept, so then you should see it after July.
What,
Townhouses, is that what they're talking about, or?
Townhouses, yes, he did agree, I asked him to, single family homes, some of them a combination, and he said that
It was pretty much
Yes.
across the board. He
he
said it
didn't
was like
see that as a
either,
problem.
rentals, own, you know, for sale, it just,
He mentioned rental townhouses for sale townhouses, and then obviously some
Who's this?
single families.
probably Rocco.
Probably
Or, yeah, Anthony, more than likely,
He wants the MUO for which lots?
The whole thing.
the whole
The
thing.
whole thing.
The whole thing.
Because he's gonna wanna have to he's gonna have to
Mhm.
combine and
Mhm.
adjust
Because-
lot lines.
Yeah, he's got several pieces. in
Several
one
pieces that
area.
need to go in the whole area for the road and for everything else to tie in, it's gonna all have to be included into one.
But the important thing is, he agreed with the stormwater pond locations,
Yes.
because I was a little nervous about that, because, you know, obviously we can't put them in the easement.
And did we talk about using the new road as having a trail along it to connect?
Yeah, for Auburn Trail.
Yep. Auburn Trail Road.
Yeah, the water, the Canandaigua Farmington Water District plan, I mean, he's
Yeah.
cool with that.
Yes.
then, and as long as. this
That's part of the
agreement is-
impetus of doing this, is
Yeah.
that
We get that, then he's okay.
then he's okay, even though we have the easement
Right.
for that, this makes it easier.
Yeah, but him laying down in front of the bulldozer.
Correct. That's not a
Wanna
good look.
avoid that.
So he was very
It's gonna
agreeable
be some right of way
with this, now that
Yeah.
water line to go
for
through,
that
and
particular
the
border.
water should bid in July. That's what I have in my notes, so
Okay,
we're rolling forward, we're progressing
or
forward.
come together.
Yeah.
So who pays for the road?
Town.
We start with the letter T.
Well, the thing is, the traffic study shows the need for
It
it,
does.
the
Well,
overall
yeah.
need to the town, which will allow us to apply for grant money, but will also put some of the impetus on us unless we look at other creative ways in that district, if we were to make some sort of district. out of
And we
that.
need it for the trail and for the water
Yeah.
project. So
Yeah, and
So-
if there's some way to,
split that up a bit.
you know, like we have with the park and rec fee,
Mhm, mhm.
there's some way to have some fee attached to
Special
those
district too.
buildings that he built. So the town could claw back some of that,
We could,
Yeah,
it's part of the MUO and other
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
discussions.
should
the
be part of the
planning board.
MUO.
Mhm.
I mean, he just-
Negotiations.
he just pass it along to whoever.
Right,
Yeah.
You can't do the development without the road, right? So
right, so as part of the MUO, we can have that discussion and see, because we can talk about fees
Like
in lieu of
incentive, it's like an incentive.
some incentives on it
Yeah.
too.
Well, I
Right,
mean, there's
use
the
also, we can have a lighting district, we can have a sewer district, he's gonna have a special
Oh,
water
yeah,
district.
I mean,
all
what's
stuff.
that road gonna cost?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
lengthy is it? Three
about-
thousand?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, right around 3,000 feet, so, I mean, that's probably $1.5 million,
It was million two.
yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but we had talked about with some of the build out and the growth there. Tying in and creating, if we're able to, we still need to look more at some sort of district for the road.
Mhm,
Yeah, there's no vehicle for a road district in town law,
mhm.
that's your problem. It's
But if it was
specifically
something-
excluded from special districts.
But if it was, yeah, but if there's a creative way to create,
You would have to create a district for something other than the
Yeah, like
road,
the lighting.
that you
or
could
the
then
sewer
somehow
or the water.
find a way to pay back
the
your,
road.
you know, your costs of the road.
Yeah.
I just, there's just no legal way to create a road
Like
district,
Like
that
the
it's just,
Star Soap district or something.
Mhm.
The road's part of
Well-
the system.
Yeah, what, it seemed like. I mean, this is really, yes, that study did show that we do have some issues up there, but.
Oh, ultimately, this quadruples the value even more of
yeah.
that parcel.
So how do you, does incentive zoning come into play at all in this area?
It could,
Does it need any rezoning for?
well, the
What do you
MUOs
want?
are the
That's the
town.
MUO, we do.
the
MUO
ones
is
that
like
can-
an incentive.
It's already in the MUO, right?
Right.
so the
I
MUO
don't
discussion.
No, I think it's gotta create the MUO, right?
No, he has to,
He has to
we have
apply
to
to be in
approve
the
for it to be in the
Yeah.
MUO, but that area's already in MUO one.
It's an overlay now.
Yeah,
He's
it
just
doesn't
gotta-
actually become part of the actual zoning until
They
the
apply.
town board action.
So that could be,
But
once
he's
this
in
is in,
the
and
map
once the
already.
next steps are done, this could be part of that discussion. Of finding a way per parcel, looking what he's doing to charge an assessment to help gain back some of
It's some
this.
kind of sharing, and then maybe it's not 100%, but the 50-50, something to
Right.
Mhm.
help offset it. You know, because this is gonna be a benefit to people who live up in that area,
Mhm.
but it does nothing for the people on the east side of town.
No, it doesn't.
Southern part of town, you know, so I mean.
How many
it's-
homes is he proposing in that area?
He didn't have a number.
He doesn't have,
Doesn't have a
it's
size.
nothing.
He didn't have a
Not enough
number,
there.
he just has a concept
Right.
of what you'd like to see there, doesn't have a layout, it's
Yeah.
kind of just general up here right now, that's. The hope is, once Rocco gets a hold of it, lays everything out, then we'll see what it's gonna look like. Once
I
the
would
road
say
is
as many
done.
as he can cram in,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what he'll do, I mean.
Yeah.
and I mean, there are other options, I mean, we could, as part of this incentive zoning, we could talk about. Density, we can talk about in the MUO, we have other options that we can look at. To help offset the
I
cost
mean,
of
if he has
that.
to go anything with conservation subdivision, it'll be really interesting, because the amount of constrained land that's gonna be on that property is gonna
Oh,
be
it's
off the charts.
Isn't most of it constrained, a lot of it.
It's
I mean,
wet,
a big, that southwest wedge of his property is
It's
all
all,
wetland.
Wet.
and it's
Yeah.
very good wetland,
So
Yeah,
are you talking dozens or are you talking hundreds?
dozens.
Dozens, I don't think it has the space for
Dozens,
hundreds.
well, dozens structured, but units, there's probably
Yeah.
multiple units.
I mean, you could have,
There's probably up to 100 EDUs that along that road would be my
do you think
guess.
100
Yeah,
total
Are they gonna have
dwellings?
sewer?
I mean, if say he had like 12 units, that's
Yeah.
4 units, that's already 48,
Yeah,
right?
that's-
So I'm like, if he has anything that has a little bit like an apartment,
Right.
it's higher density, then yeah.
Right,
So my
The developer
question
have to pay for it,
is,
cause he's
based
gonna
on
want.
how many
he's
units to
gonna
split
pay
the
sewer.
cost of.
per unit, yeah.
It's
He
really
wouldn't-
just the road.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
So if he wants.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
under
it,
reasonable
But you
amount.
have to find a legal vehicle.
We have to find a
charge
way
that.
to do that, and the way to charge it is through the MUO, through incentive
Yeah.
zoning, through,
Yeah, as long as that vehicle allows you to take amenities,
Yeah.
then yeah, incentive zoning does allow you to take amenities. I just don't know if the MUO does. It's a different process,
Right.
that's all.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to force them to go through IZ, then instead of going through the MUO process, then I would say rezone the whole thing to R130. And then go through your IZ.
well, that's to be decided.
yeah.
Does the road alignment have any environmental constraints at all?
Does the road
Road
alignment?
alignment.
Yeah, I mean, we get close in a couple spots, our alignment was selected to mitigate. the
Figure out the
majority of it.
wetlands you're at.
Yeah, we're out of the major wetlands, there's some parts that you can approach out
What
just
kind of
because it's not
hoops you have to
regenerable.
go through for the road? Okay.
Yeah, we'll see, yeah, the permitting side of this, that'll be another factor.
Okay. So we'll look forward to July 10th.
Yes,
All right, next one is other district sewer on Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road, which we have up on the.
So we have
screen
4 people here that have been looking for sewer. The problem is they all sit low. So there's no gravity sewer scenario that's really available to these people. And then the third issue is that I don't think these guys necessarily have a lot of cash to be able to
Is this
pay
our
for
friend
any of
from-
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
one gentleman.
So
that
I
has
think
all our
they're
meetings.
looking for someone to solve their problem for them.
one of these two.
He's in the park, yeah, I think he's not that one, the next
This
one,
one?
yeah,
Okay,
I think that's him.
So the way I would serve these guys is I would tell them, let's just do it as a low pressure sewer district and. We can run on like an 1.5, 2-inch line with some curb stops off it, and then they'd have to put in a grinder and pump out.
Connecting
Because they're
to
low
Saddlehorn
for each
or-
one.
actually,
Yeah.
connect over here Maplewood Drive, there's the nearest manhole right here, you'll see it, that's the closest manhole.
Okay.
But small diameter force main like that, we can, you can drill the road, it's really not a big deal.
Just
So you're
that would
saying
just be
low
those
pressure
4,
system?
Just those.
Yeah,
four.
low pressure sewer system probably is.
and that's 4 lots, right?
Yeah,
Right.
It's the best way to do it. Because if you
I'm
try to
just making
extend
sure
gravity
that's
sewer for
actually
these guys,
what's
it's
there,
gonna
not
be
that that's-
ultra
that's the houses
expensive.
that are there.
what's,
And I don't even know if it's possible, because again, the houses all sit well below the road.
right, and the other thing is the town would have to create an out district user with Farmington sewer
Mhm.
agreement
Yeah.
to collect on Texas DO and M
Right.
for the properties and that would go to Farmington. Cause they're in Canada.
Well, this would go to Farmington. So you have
Yes.
to have Farmington's agreement.
Yeah,
Take
They're
this
already
in.
on board, Pete's already
Yeah,
on
Pete's-
board, because there is, I don't know which property it is. I think one of your guys was working on it maybe. There's a property here, they're buying it, they wanna build or do something on it. And they were looking at the cost and the design of their own pump system.
Is it the guy from the town board that comes all the time?
No, it's not him,
It's another person?
somebody else, and
I don't
that's
think
where,
it's this
that's what
one.
precipitated this conversation, and
Okay.
Pete mentioned and said, there are multiple. The whole section is having issues,
Mhm.
can we do something to service all of them? And potentially offset the cost for the one and spread it across to the four.
Is this the all of them? or there's
This,
more than
this
that?
four is the all
That's,
of
that's
them,
part of
Yeah.
that property.
I
That's
don't
where-
know which
That's
The road
parcel.
will
Parcel.
come here.
I don't know which parcel is the one that approached Farmington about getting into their sewer district. And the engineer had been talking about designing the pump. Like you were
Gotcha, an
saying,
injector.
to get it over.
How
or
would
this
they
would-
each need their own grinder?
Yeah, everyone
Right.
had their own grinder. I mean, you could put it into a common one and then run a grinder, but I mean, it's just
They
more
have-
expensive.
They gotta work
Is it more
out,
expense
Yeah.
to run into, then they're all sharing.
they're all sharing who pays the electric, who pays for.
Yeah, so you'd rather just have them all have their
I
own
was
grinder
talking with,
station, they just tie in with a curb
Who's
stop.
paying for this sanitary system?
Well, that's what we're trying to.
That's
Yeah,
figure out.
that's where the rubber meets the road. So the issue is, you know, if these guys are out of district users, there's going to be a capital expense. So unless they're willing to pay for that capital expense to run the line to them, then I'm not sure how you make this work.
Right,
Is
Yeah.
there any way to, without, proposal, just kind of a rough number, what this would, might be to the town and to the individual, 'cause they'd have to buy their own grinder, would they? I mean,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just talked to E1, he lives in that town now, the salesman does.
Oh, Dan,
Dan does.
yeah, okay.
7,500 per grinder unit, just for one.
just for the unit
Just
or
for a
unit and
That's
install,
just a unit.
just
No.
the unit.
That's
Probably
just a unit.
install,
Yeah,
it's
you
probably
gotta-
another $7,500 for the
So we're
install.
looking at
Are there systems?
roughly 15 to 20.
Yeah, it could be about 15 grand.
Are there
So-
systems currently overflowing and
The
getting
one guy-
sewage into?
Yeah, the one guy who comes to our meetings, whenever it rains, his kids can't shower. Because it backflows all up
Yeah.
into their showers.
Okay,
Such water.
So he's
sits
like,
on the
whenever,
leach field.
yeah, there's so much water, he's the one who had the equipment purchased.
He wants to buy a hot, or maybe.
Right,
he's-
he had, but years ago, he had equipment purchased, he was ready to do his own, cause he said he had, and try to fix it.
Right,
But he was told, stop, or your property will condemn this, because you don't have the proper
Well, I probably get approved.
licenses and
Yeah.
approval for it. So that's where he is. He's also looking at buying somewhere else and building. I don't know where. I don't know what that discussion was, but he had mentioned that after a
you
meeting.
can give them a cost, Terry, for, say, to bring it from the manhole under the road and just into the right of way, say, here's the 4 connections, okay, here's what's gonna cost, after that, it's up to you to figure out how to get to it.
well, I'm just concerned if they're polluting the stream, the water table, anything like that, I'm just concerned if there's any sort of actual pollution that's happening from that now.
I don't know, I have not been out there to look behind it, so I'm not sure,
And I only saw the one from the front.
so.
If his septic system can back up one way, they
That's
can
what I'm
definitely go
saying.
the other way.
So I'm like, and then that obviously then there's some benefit to the town in some ways too, but because that's not anything any of us wanna have is septic systems backing up and polluting the water table, but.
if it's $15,000 roughly, let's say per EDU for those, they'll come out of their pocket to their side of it.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be
Then they-
affordable for them.
And then they'd have to come up with whatever the other side is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or is the town,
They would have to pay, yeah, they'd have to pay to connect,
right?
Oh, yeah.
because we can't.
Sounds like it's gonna be a short discussion.
Yeah, it's more, it's, I think we've had this discussion before, John, I'll tell you, and I think it ended how you think it ended. If it was too expensive, they were like,
Invest 20 grand into their.
Well, you can easily double that 15K probably,
You know,
they're not gonna,
They don't have the funds to invest into that, and it doesn't. It doesn't merit.
I mean, there's a way for these guys to do it themselves, you can take out a home equity loan and pay for those, the improvements, I mean, it's there, but I mean,
Right,
Well,
You know,
one
I
guy-
say that, but they might not be in those economics.
Well, yeah, the-
Situation where they.
The
The
only thing
equity
we
that
can
one
share
guy
is
has
the
might not be.
pipe from the sanitary to the other side of the road.
Right. They'll get it across the street.
You share that and then you
From there, they figure out how to get.
figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah, a 2-inch poly forestman is not gonna be a big enough for, you know, the towns to really kind of tackle. So you just got the drill, you get the one drill across.
You know, it's not
So-
terrible.
So you're
expense.
proposing that we would do that,
No,
That
I
they
think
would-
that they should pay
yeah.
for that.
right?
I would
That's why I
think
was
that,
surprised.
well, no, I would think
No, but
if,
what I'm saying
No, I
is
know.
that that's the only shared cost that they'd have to have.
Right,
So I don't know, pick a number. Let's say it costs you 25, 30 grand to bring that pipe across the road, under the road
right,
to their side of the
where they
street.
can all four tie in.
They all have to share that 30 grand and then they'd all have to go and figure out what it would cost to bring it from their house to that line.
see, I would think if they're actually polluting the local water table, that at least bringing it across the road might actually be something we could consider doing.
And you probably have to have code go out there and see, get a better determination of what the issue is.
But if you had a 2-inch line that you were trying to, you know, get across the road, I mean, you're just gonna bring a drill.
That's we're just gonna drill across, yeah.
So I mean, you're talking about what, it's like $20 a foot or $30 a
It'll
foot for
probably
the
cost you
2-inch and then.
10 grand to drill under that road.
Yeah.
Probably.
Something there.
500, 10, yeah.
Probably about, you know, $8 is the mobilization cost and then the drill's probably pretty cheap.
So,
So what do we do with this?
I'm gonna talk to Pete about it, because it was his person who brought it up, and he had asked me, and ultimately it'll affect them.
I mean, you know, we can help with the estimating, or Jim, you can do the estimating, I don't really care. But I think that's what someone needs to develop a generalized cost to go and talk to these guys and just see.
So roughly,
What's
they would
palatable
be,
for
they
them?
could easily be into it 1750, if it's, say it's 10 grand to bring, say 10,000 to run the pipe across to bring it and get it good.
Just to bore the road is gonna cost you 10 grand.
So then,
You know, it's
Um,
10 times 4 though.
so then
40
it's,
Yeah,
so then
4 grand a piece.
it's, wait, so it's.
Go
10
under
total
for
to
each
bring it
one, you
across.
can't go under
2,500.
once.
Yeah,
and
so
then
you're
that.
talking-
2,500 units.
Yeah, so you're talking 2,500 plus about 15, so they'd be in at about 1750. Ballpark. 17 and a half to 20,000 to hook up to the Farmington sewer system.
in that range.
Isn't that basically what, you know, County Road 28 would be per house if they
Yeah,
weren't
20
paying for it
yeah.
over 30 years? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in the.
Who was it
Yeah.
that brought this to us anyway?
Well,
I forwarded it off because that person had been there. But Farmington had been approached by a resident who is
Okay.
building there, who wanted to tie into their system, asked about doing this, and that's when Pete said, well, all 4 of those parcels have issues. Is there any way that we could do this economically and involve all 4 of them? So really, the only shared savings for all 4 is splitting that 7,500 to 10,000-ish.
Right.
Dividing that 4 ways. So they're saving, bringing in all 4 would technically save each person about $7,500.
So why can't we do the same thing that we do with County Road 28 sewers, where we just take out the 30-year loan for them and we create a special district and charge them?
So that's an avenue too.
well, yeah, but that's
But it
such a
would be
small
affordable.
amount of money.
It
Yeah.
would, but it would
You'd
still make
almost
it
have to-
affordable for them.
It's
Look at
hard.
Local bank. and
Yeah, that's the hard part,
borrow.
is find someone to loan it to you.
That's,
I mean, there's a lot of banks that are clamoring for a business. I don't think that would be that hard to figure out.
It is and it isn't, because there's actually a finance rule as it relates to like, you know, the size of the loan and the duration. So
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
can't take out like a 30-year loan on, you know, on 50
$100,000.
grand, you
Mhm,
know,
yeah.
that no one's gonna give you that.
Yeah.
Well, like, the reason I asked the question is, who do we go back to pass this information along? That
I will talk to Peter, because the last time I saw him, he'd asked me about the discussion and asked me where it had gone. So I will talk to him and I'll see what his feelings are. I mean, he and I could go and meet with each resident and say, this is about what you're looking at. It's not a hard figure, but it'll give you a ballpark. This is about what you're looking at. There might be grant programs available. I mean, if we have any pollutants getting out, there might be some money for that. There's also the homeowners assistance for people to do improvements to stay in their homes.
Can we send Kevin or somebody out there to do some testing? I mean, now's a great time to do testing, see if something's overflowing and, I mean, so that we would have it.
What's the question I was gonna ask too, Adeline, is, we know the one guy that comes to our meeting, but the other three have similar problems, do you know?
I
or-
have never heard.
You know,
I
this
haven't either,
couple
so-
here, I don't think so.
So if it's
That's
just
what
the
I'm
one
wondering.
guy.
But this
Yeah.
gentleman here, yes, and these two, yes, this one here,
The one on the
Oh,
left
so
has
3
issues,
might be
Yeah.
Mac 4.
I remember that guy, that was the 5813.
13 has issues.
So you're not sure about the
so
one that
kinda
you're currently
crests
on
a
right
little
now?
well, it's a little, 5805 is a little higher than the other lots. So,
Rule of thumb, build on the high ground.
that's right,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I didn't understand that rule.
That's why it's so windy at town hall. We built them right.
No, well, when they built their house, they definitely did build on high ground. Okay, so I'll take that back, I'll talk to Peter, see what he wants to do with it, and then maybe we can meet with the people
Okay,
and just share the information, so hand that off to me.
all right, next one is out of district water.
Yeah, let's,
Consolidated water
How
district.
many have you?
two, well, there's that
Is that
other,
one that?
well, there's two, that, side, the three, the one, 5 and 20, so.
21.
Grimble Road, which is on the west edge off of Hopkins Road. The water main goes as far as this red dot right here, okay?
This is Bloomfield, right?
Bloomfield's just over here.
Okay.
So our hydrant ends here. These folks want to build a new house here. Well, they're going to build a new house here. They want public water. And I'm like, oh,
You don't have public.
you don't have public water. If you wanted public water, you would have to become an out of district user and put in the water to get to your property. And I was just gonna bring it up with everybody because
How they respond to that.
they respond like I told myself, it's up to the town board. I go, either they're gonna say yes or no.
But they'd have to front.
But they're willing.
Oh,
They
they have
pay
to
for
front
it.
cost,
The
yeah.
entire cost of the
sorry.
project.
They're
Yeah,
willing.
they got. front-
How far is that, Jim? What's that?
So, say 1200 feet, I just drew a straight line.
Yeah.
And we also got a stream crossing, so it's a map stream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
We got
you
a
know, there's cost involved with that too, because
permit. yeah.
permit to drill underneath it.
So if he does do that, what happens when next year this guy wants to build a house and he wants public water? Can he tap into the line that the gentleman's paid to put in himself or what?
Only if the gentleman dedicated that line back to the town,
For us to maintain.
yes.
Yeah.
Which if he didn't, any maintenance would be his responsibility.
Right, like, let's say,
So,
let's just speak, you know, like. At the red dot, he puts a 2-inch meter pit, and from there out, it's his problem. Okay, we wouldn't have anything to say. And then he would pay to the town. He should pay for interest and principal, because that's district that has debt in it. Okay, that's being paid out of the
Yeah.
O and M.
It's the same thing we're talking about with Bristol,
Right,
is we have to bill those people, you have to be billed separately
separately,
on his assessment.
Yep.
Plus his regular water bill,
Mhm.
plus his own fronting the costs of the
Right.
improvements.
It reminds me of like a private road, right?
Mhm.
Two new owners down the line are gonna be like, why doesn't the town repair my section of this when
Right.
everybody else's water main gets?
or as you said,
Yeah.
if that land decides to go to
Exactly.
be built on, how
Mhm.
does that get affected?
One thing I would say is make
How
sure
come
you
he
have
has water and
a
I don't have water?
out of district user agreement that, you know, spells out that they have to participate in any future district.
Yeah,
what would be the cost of drilling that? Estimate.
oh,
A lot.
probably, I mean, just two.
Unless he
inch, you
does
gotta
lead pipes, I hear
drill
they're a lot cheaper.
Probably 30,000 all day, if not more.
30 grand to run that?
I mean, the
Yeah.
meter pit alone right now is $5,500.
Yeah.
They just bought one for pro cutters, and they take 30 weeks to get here.
Good.
So,
So yeah, so that would be,
so it'd be expensive.
but if you're starting off new and roll that.
And then the
all
other
out,
thought here is like the county thinks, so like, okay, you want water started, you should
Yeah.
put the improvement in.
up
Not
to
meaning
specs.
like a 2-inch line,
Up to
like,
specs.
up, you know, an
Yeah,
8-inch
8-inch.
water main.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And they're gonna request that from him, you think? They can-
Well, we don't do that, but the
Yeah.
county, I think sometimes we should think like the county does. If you want this out there, you're gonna do it to
Maintenance.
benefit everything, you're gonna
Yeah.
give it back to
You're
the
not gonna
town.
have to do the job.
Right.
Just
Because otherwise you wind up doing the piecemeal for each lot.
Yeah,
Correct,
But you can get that exact scenario, like I said, with your out of district user agreement, telling them that they will participate in any future district.
correct.
so,
In other words, if there's a district that runs by them and it's a $3,000 a year district, and they're like, well, I already have water, I don't wanna do anything, it's too bad. It's right there, you're a yes, and it's done,
I
you don't
got,
have to worry about it.
I got a question, why would we not say, okay, we will build it for you, we charge you for the cost? And then it's your line, we could figure out the dedicated later, but if we built it, we know it's correct, if he builds it, we don't know.
Well, we would have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
inspector there to make
Yeah,
sure it's done correctly. So like,
But I'm just wondering why we wouldn't actually be the one putting it in and just charging it for it.
well, we could do that too. And that could also be done.
I mean, that,
Choice is theirs, right?
Right,
What about, what would the cost be to put it up to spec? Just run a line there.
216,000.
How much?
216,000
Okay,
for an
so that's-
8-inch water
So
main.
that's a little bit
it's a
different.
little higher than 30
A
grand.
little higher than 30.
Well, like we
Yeah.
just did this pricey,
Yeah.
3 weeks ago for Farmington, we're talking
It's
County
like
Road 8.
$25 a foot for.
You know,
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
they
but
like-
then we're not doing as much because of,
You know, we were
Yeah.
at,
Do they own a large supermarket chain? or
No, they
something?
do not.
Right.
So they all build on the lake.
Well, I don't know.
so yeah, so that
Maybe
would,
it's their cousin that's not as.
my guess is that might be a non-starter then.
Right.
That 200,000 versus 30.
Well, maybe that's the way to go back to them and say, look, you could put in a smaller line, however,
Yeah,
if this area is gonna be poised for development in the future,
yeah,
we, the town, would prefer an 8-inch line at
right,
$216,000, so if you wanna do that, come back and talk to
And-
us.
what's going on in Bloomfield past that point? Are they gonna eventually wanna tie into something too?
There-
That's what I'm like,
no, there's no water main anywhere near west
on
of
the other
this.
direction, okay.
So. I mean, the only thing here you would do is you'd probably pick up 1, 2, well, if you're gonna do it, you might as well pick up the third lot and add them to the district.
Yeah.
That's not really.
I don't,
They're not asking for
I think the
it.
site plan had a well.
it did,
Oh,
I was just.
but he asked
These
about
are
the
these are
water.
gonna end up.
I think this,
Yeah.
probably, he's going back to a well.
Yes, it does.
What's the cost to drill a well?
You know, I haven't asked a while.
It just depends, it depends on the depth,
Yeah,
it's the biggest
I
thing.
haven't asked.
how about these houses on the south side of the road, just to
These
the
ones?
east of where this guy wants to build?
Here,
They have wells, yeah, there,
this has a well, this has public water.
yeah, but the ones to the left there, Jim,
These are,
that place, they have a well.
has a well, and this has a well.
You have any idea, I mean,
I don't, Terry.
problems or,
No, I don't.
it's much better to have municipal water, of course, we don't
Yeah.
know that, but cost is an issue there, right?
Mhm.
Gotta be a lot cheaper than 216 grand
Yeah.
to sink a well. and-
Go
Well,
back, we look at our agreement, we go back to what Greg said, if he wants it and wants to do the 2-inch line. Then if water were to go down that road someday,
you're gonna be in,
he's in the district paying the O&M
right,
for the water district.
correct, so.
Now,
Oh, sorry, Terry.
you'd be the beneficiary of us having the Canterbury Consolidated District. So is there any way to make them share the cost of?
Well,
That's
actually,
why I want them.
well, right now, we couldn't because there's debt on the district, so until the debt's paid for, yeah. pay into the district. So-
So he would have to pay.
Oh, real quick, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Greg, I forgot about the line.
He's leaving and
I'm sorry,
That was my cue, I'm like,
You
I
should've
gotta
said-
go too, so I wanna, let's hit this
I just
before you
wanna
go
make
on
sure
your
you
snowplow.
take care of that guy on 21.
Well,
Because he lives in the district. but
Yeah.
the
the house is outside the district,
Well, the house is in the district. but Actually,
no vice versa,
oh, it's vice versa?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Alright, so,
Is that the 4-H camp?
yes.
yeah, so this is the 4-H facility, we've done our modeling.
Good.
We've developed
Fire truck.
our alternatives. And we've put together some costs and then just some ideas to kind of ponder. So the most cost-effective solution is basically this shaded region in here, just doing this little stub. And what we did is we set this district at the audit control threshold, so we'd be just under, to save us that step, but, there's a chart that was, I got emailed to you, Jim, that had like a cost information on there, but it's fine, I can just go from my head, it's just real loose numbers here, but this little piece here, we need about $400,000 of additional funding to make it work. So that's 400. And then we looked at various scenarios, because we're like, well, you're already down here. I'm like, what about, these guys? And then, once we got to here, we're like, well, what about these guys? So there's incremental steps to expand the district, with it just being served from the Pierce Park pump station. So it's,
Which color is existing? Is it brick? Is it orange?
these are the existing districts.
Okay.
Through-
But anything orange is existing then, correct? Is that what I'm reading?
No, orange is just the center line of road.
Oh, okay, so existing is blue.
Yeah, the blue lines that are in,
Okay,
these are,
thank you,
and
sorry.
then the dash stuff is,
Yeah.
will be proposed. So, that was the one. That was the one scenario we looked at, is basically just serving it from the Pierce Park pump station. But then one of the other alternatives we looked at, because we were doing the study a little jointly with the towns and the 4-H, was to look at a larger district that would have benefit to the parent district for Canandaigua Consolidated, Canandaigua Bristol. That one we looked at citing either a tank down here in Kerr Road or on Smith Road. And what we did is with Smith Road, and then we looked at each of these additional alternatives. Once you add it, the advantage of the Smith Road tank is that Pierce Park pump station just becomes a standard fill station. Because right now there's 3, there's 6 pumps, right? Yeah, there's high service pumps, high duty pumps, and low duty pumps that are in there, because it's trying to pressurize the system just mechanically. There's no tank for this run.
And that would be water management, right?
This would allow us to eliminate that scenario, and then it would just be a fill to this location, and it all right off gravity through here. That also allows us to eliminate the Goodell pump station, which is just a small booster station serving a little 4-inch line that runs parallel to the 8-inch. We'd be able to basically abandon the parallel line, eliminate the 4-inch, transfer your services over to 8-inch, and you would have consistent pressure going through. This is all.
And this tank also, we've been asked for years to get water south. This tank will allow us to get all the way
And this tank will provide a backup for
back up for our.
Canada Consolidated. Now, here's the rub. So this plus this.
Yeah.
Now puts you into,
50,000, that's it, that's great, thank you.
that puts you into needing roughly about 3 million to make it work.
Well,
So,
this will only work with earmark with that funding.
Right.
so there's a bunch of different avenues for these guys, I think. I think you have a great use for ARPA money if it's available, even from the county, they can help.
Why were they doing
You have, because the 4-H needs water, the 4-H can't.
How they've been existing without water now?
They've been trucking it in,
Yeah.
it's getting like,
They truck water in?
yeah,
Fire departments donate their tankers with water to it.
It's getting more and more challenging.
Yeah, so-
It's-
they're basically saying if we don't get potable water, we have to shut her. So that would eliminate this camp that services a
camp?
bunch of little, right
It's
here.
a Cure Road.
So it's most cost-effective way for us to provide them water is a $400,000 bill.
Yeah,
Yes.
What are they willing to pony up?
we don't know yet. I mean, I haven't presented any of this stuff to them, so I because there's 2 separate scenarios, right? With like, there's the bare bones, and then there's the over. The longer, the
Futuristic ones,
future,
yeah.
right? That's a much bigger
It's not a high-
project.
Can we do this before we do watershed, or do we need this to be able?
No, you could, but I mean, if you're gonna, it just depends, like, I would, if you could leverage this to help get funding for the overall, to help soften the blow, then that would be a good way to go, I think, but, if you're only looking at just trying to do this, then, that's a different story, that's you guys decide that stuff.
Does the 400 grand take away from the 3 million?
Yeah, cause you
I mean,
know,
if you
because
spend-
the 400,000, and that's not the total project cost, the 400,000 is just the added fund it needed, because there, you know, what's in here was the paying
Well,
based off EDs for debt
It'd be
service.
high on what-
So that's just the stuff running
This is the
down,
option of the tank over there.
as a debt end. And then, like I said, the bigger project again is, that has,
We just need one.
you know, greater benefit just beyond getting water to the 4-H. That was the other scenario.
These other people want to share in the cost.
I don't know, I mean, you know, we're not gonna know, I mean, I think that's the whole point, is at some point we'll have to kind of talk, and it's like, okay. And the way we laid out both scenarios is we, you know, the district costs of them would be the same. Provided we can find the, you know, the additional funding, you know.
District cost would be, what do you mean would be the same?
We set it to,
Same
so
as
it's the audit control threshold limit, that 1040, whatever, so we have that, like, that's just set. And
Right
then,
now,
and then the way
they're
that the charts are all, no, they're still paying debt, they're just at 1040, they're capped. No, they're not paying anything now, they're not in the district.
So in other words, their costs would go up.
Yeah, their cost would, yeah, because they're gonna go from no service
but they're
charge to
gonna
a
get-
service charge.
They're going from nothing to something with water,
They're
Right.
going from a well to.
to water.
Right,
And they're not gonna be charging any of the.
But the whole thing here is that the plan is to get earmarked money
this,
somewhere.
this was part of the, water master plan as well, this.
But I think if water were to come down here, to what you're saying, John, you might see more of this. I don't know, more people, it might make it more desirable.
Smith has a.
You're not gonna get a lot of, it
I
would be
don't think
singles.
that's entirely desirable.
It would be singles, somebody wants to get out away.
Yeah, frontage, you
It'd be
know,
individual homes.
It would, yeah, you're not gonna have any high density, you're gonna have singletons.
yeah, and you can't do high density, there's no sewer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
So we don't want to keep it rural.
Huh?
so we are.
Yeah, we want, that's the,
Anyhow,
that's the question, I mean.
I know.
I
This
think
is
the
the
end of the day,
need,
I had to say, it.
well, that is the need and this is the want, okay, is what it comes to.
This is also need,
I think you start with the.
Don't know, you don't know if that's,
4-H camp.
you really don't know if that's.
It's gonna cost $400,000 to get you
To
water.
give you water.
No, no, it's not just 400, that's just, that's
The
that's what the
additional.
district would need in addition to
Mhm.
what they would have for their debt service would be 400,000.
So
So
what's
it's
the,
not the, it's not
what's
the
the
total.
cost to do it?
I would need that chart, where would that, sorry,
It's all right.
Jim, but I just
I'm
remember,
sorry,
I just
Jim.
remember
Can
what we
I-
had for, you know,
You need all
funding.
the numbers in your head.
Can I take this?
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
because I was gonna, I'm meeting,
I don't
with-
think there's anything with, I don't think it's like.
is there anything proprietary on this?
No, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, because I have a meeting on Monday with Tim McGillicuddy from the county
Oh, okay.
to talk to him about another project, another question that I have that I've got to go over some things with him. I could broach that with him for this,
I mean, he's not gonna really have much to do on it though.
and then I could also go take it and take this down to Claudia's office and talk to Tenny and talk to her people. I know that earmark season's passed. but-
Yeah, but this would be great for the next year, Mark.
But just
Yeah,
pitch
for
it,
next year.
then they can see it. She can see it. She can say, I brought water to the 4-H camp and I saved children.
they don't smell as bad at the end of the day.
Exactly, just
Right.
throwing it out there.
Yeah,
So-
what we found out is that the musical campers are more water intensive than the other campers.
What
That
camp?
does not surprise
The
me.
musical
at all.
campers.
Use a band camp.
Yeah, they have a band camp up
Can you
there.
call it band
But,
camp anymore?
but apparently,
Their
they,
level of hygiene is
yes, they
higher.
take more showers than the other kids.
You are
Cause
correct.
like, we're looking at the water uses like.
Well, they
have
sit
these
close
public
to each other
camps,
playing
And
instruments.
then they have that band camp, where we're like, dude, the water use is double. Like,
And if they had a Boy Scout camp up there, there would be no
No
water.
water.
usage.
You
None,
go swim in the pool.
because they don't shower.
Well, I don't know what one of the, like, not the first time, but Pat Green came in, one of the last year,
Last year.
and was talking to us about, because he's not running again, he's gonna be out.
Mhm.
He said, one of the things I'd like to leave with you guys is, if you can find a way to get water to the 4-H camp.
Mhm.
He said that, he said, that's
Be perfect.
something I really wanted to see done before I leave the scene, so,
It's really, I mean,
that was, the focus was the 4-H camp.
this is a heavily used camp.
No, but,
Oh, yeah.
but the point was, I knew that, like, I know, to do this, you need to wag that. to get that.
Yeah.
So,
If you don't
Well, and
use that
that's-
to get
well,
that,
So my
it's
question
gonna be
is,
really hard to get that.
I understand this section and that, why do we have these here instead of here? That's what I'm.
Oh, that's just because the stuff is down and there's more density through here, so.
There's more density,
Yeah,
there
so
is.
it's just, this was, again, this is the initial step, so. Like I said, our proposal was written knowing that we would look at the Bristol side, but then I also knew that working with Jim, that we wanted to look at something a little bit more.
But then we
holistic.
have
This
to
is-
ask the
Is this,
question,
this is in Bristol, right?
yes,
yeah.
Yeah, that's all Bristol.
then we have to ask the question that Terry brought up too, is do we wanna open the door for that? In some of those areas going back that way,
For development.
for development.
Yeah, but just like we just talked about, you're not gonna have any major development out
Well,
here.
it's-
It's just
it's
frontage, so,
2 acre minimum lots anyway.
yeah, you're only gonna, I mean. What, a couple dozen homes in total
Yeah,
over 10
yeah.
years?
it's,
Not even have that.
you know,
Right, yeah, exactly,
A lot
so
of
it's
it is
it's not a big
people
deal,
that crap.
So
Crappy.
right?
you're gonna take this and talk to,
I'm gonna talk
Couple
with the,
people.
yeah, I'm gonna talk
I'll
with
find
the
some
people.
out.
and,
The county, because they have ARPA money, which my understanding is still not appropriate, it's 100%
Correct, there's a lot that's not left.
So, I mean, if they have
So I
earmarks,
show this, and if the county has,
county had 400 grand, they could throw towards that, we could make that happen.
this is a county benefit.
Yes,
This right here is a county benefit. And if they have, I'll take it and see what he says, and I will, if I need to go to Ways and Means and see what they say and try to.
but next year's congressional and Senate earmarks, or whatever,
Oh, that's the.
that's where I
price.
would come back and I would ask for the whole thing,
Yeah.
you know, for your earmarks.
Well, fire protection,
The last time this happened, that was from
Right.
Del Volker, remember? He gave us a big old check.
fire protection, it'll save children
Talk to Pam about it.
and it'll help,
Yes, Pam's, I would definitely.
And Jeff.
it'll help save lives. Yeah, right, it'll save lives.
Good, 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 all right,
And watch
I
Jeff.
know you gotta go.
I gotta
All
run.
right,
Right.
I'll go back to it.
Oh, you're fine.
okay,
Things left.
we'll adjourn the meeting with that. Oh, well, you did wanna,
He wants to buy another.
there's another
He's got
plow
a
truck.
toy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You just talked about how his back truck is gonna help save us some time and
It
money.
is, it's gonna save a bunch of money, it's a
Maybe
great
this one will
purchase.
be the same kind of toy.
It always
But
is.
this is a lower
Yeah,
cost,
say
it's
goodbye.
only 200 grand.
The back truck is like 40.
that truck was
Not
98, I think it was paid for that, versus
Oh, I know.
400.
Oh, it gets cheaper as the time, but it's like, it was like $100
I
for
think
the
the
back
bucket
truck.
truck was 40 or so.
Bucket truck was, yeah, 40.
Yeah,
All
that's.
right,
So what do you want now?
Well,
New flag
so I've
truck.
been approached
It doesn't
by-
snow here anymore, Jim.
I've been approached again by another out district user, or wants to be an out district user, so. The Fuller property is here at this corner.
Would you go to Wells?
This
Creek
is,
21? Okay.
This is 21, here's Dual Road.
Yep, yep, yep.
Our nearest hydrant is here by Judy Carson's house. And they would like to go, bring it down to here. Now, this has a little bit of me into it too, because in our water master plan, Dual Road, in my opinion, should be connected back to 16. Because anything south of Wells Curtis Road in that 2.5-ish miles of water, maybe 3, there are no other connections. Like when we shut the water main off of Wells Curtis Road, everybody south is done. There's no water. We have a break someplace. So it's in the water master plan. This, I would like to think someday we'll get water down Dual Road,
All the way down.
all the way down Dual Road to connect to 16.
How long is Dual Road?
It's a mile and a half,
Mile and a half.
It's pretty long
so.
and not very straight.
No, but this, maybe we approach this as, okay, the town puts in the infrastructure to here to get it to this point. And on the bridge that was built in 2008 has a water main already underneath it. So we could connect to that and bring it out a little bit farther, just so it's done for the future. It's something I was thinking.
A little bit farther, what do you need?
I want to get it out, because Dual Road's very narrow. There's really no, I like to, I gotta fix some drainage there, and I'd like to just get the water main in and out of the way, so it's deep enough, so we're not digging up twice. There's really no, there's a guardrail, the cliff here, and a very steep bank here. I'd like to just get it out of the way.
My biggest concern there is I don't wanna necessarily encourage development there. That's very development pressure area.
Yeah, you can do lateral restrictions on the farm fields, you know, we could also, we've done that before, like we did on Carroll 30, we got lateral restrictions on farm fields, but I understand what you're saying, for long-term for a town, if something did go wrong
Mhm.
south, there's no,
We need that redundancy.
there's no, you know, there's nothing.
Which includes another park, of course.
Yeah, includes it on the park, but basically goes from Coy Road back to Wells Curtis Road, that would have no water.
What's the cost to go from all along Dual Road? all the way down to-
I don't know, it's
Millions and millions
a
and
couple
millions.
million probably, I mean, if you were
As long as we're spending money.
gonna, if we did 180.
It's a long freaking road.
Yeah,
7,000 feet,
it's
it's 2 million.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, it's not exactly straight either.
how much?
2 million. I mean. Put it out there for discussion, just as a solar.
So you wanna install this water main right there that you're showing on blue?
I would like
That's the
to,
request.
as a start.
But you wanna get it, you actually wanna get it here, right?
It's
Over the bridge?
It's already over the bridge, I wanna connect to it and then get
Oh,
it,
that's already over the bridge. okay.
yes. But we don't have to do that, it's just something I'm talking out loud with you
Yeah.
about future planning for the
But
town,
just-
so.
This request came from the center. right?
Right, I mean, Oksana could put a 2-inch meter pit here, come across, because she owns this land,
Mhm.
and run over to her property and be an out district user. Now, the only thing here is she would just pay the O and M because there's no debt
There's no debt on
service. Okay,
But she would pay to put that line.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
What would that cost be?
Probably for her, 20-25,000. So, somewhere in that range.
Could we say, yeah, theoretically, yeah, go ahead and do it. But here's how we want it hooked up. And then sometime in the, well, you don't want a 2-inch line going down there.
You don't, no.
You
So
know,
you send it together.
What comes down to that point where Judy was, does Judy have?
Judy has water, yeah,
Judy,
and
okay.
these two homes have water, they're on spaghetti lines. So,
Is that, how big line?
it's an 8-inch.
8 inch?
Yeah.
So you'd really want an 8 inch going.
Oh, yeah, we bring 8-inch over.
But that takes cost up from.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my question again would be the same that I had before, which is why we put it into the charge then for whatever it was.
Well, for this, we would, the town, should be doing it, kind of like we did on Hickox Road, we were forced to put in a 12-inch main. Okay, we put it in, but we only charged them the audit control threshold at the time, it was like 9 something, because we needed it,
Mhm,
and we brought it to them.
mhm.
So instead of making them pay the whole amount, we made them pay the minimum of the audit,
The minimum that we could.
minimum that we could charge. So say 900 a year.
Minimum or max?
The max.
Maximum.
Sure,
payment,
yeah,
sorry, the
to
maximum.
get to the minimum to that out amount.
So
Do we need,
maybe I'm, that care help me.
Okay,
Why are you proposing that we install this water line?
I propose to install that water main so that we can have future get down Dual Road, so we have redundancy back on 16. Is
But we're
what
surviving without it now.
we do, but when the water goes off, it, makes
What does that cost?
that piece there.
The whole thing. I'm
Oh.
talking about
From
the-
now to go from red
This
line,
guy-
red line to red
Probably
line.
$250,000. Like 1,000 feet at $180 a foot.
same as the
so,
other one, basically.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, that's for the whole,
that's just to get
Just
us
to get from red dot to red
right down
dot.
to right down.
how much total?
Like $250,000
For 8 inch,
for 8-inch.
Bring it up to spec.
which is what we want.
And we're doing that so that we have redundancy.
Well, I would like
Well-
to,
Someday. we're
I would
gonna-
like to have the town bring that 8-inch main down Dual Road back to 16. So in the event something happens, either at Westlake or Carroll's, Wells Curtis Road, there's a way to feed it, or let's just say let's say,
So
at, 1 second, at Tisha Point, but.
Menti.
Menteith Gully, okay, let's say that's ripping and it pulls the water main out of the ground because we had terrible flooding. Well, we have no way then to backfeed anybody.
So it's not a $250,000 investment. In
No.
order to achieve what you're talking about, it's a $2.5 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do the whole thing, John, correct.
I mean, there's no sense of doing that without doing the rest of it. Is there? What's the benefit?
This would be a start.
That would be a start to get us in that
That'd be
direction.
a start.
I understand what you're saying, John, I'm just trying to,
That's because
I mean,
a local resident has requested that particular section and he's wondering if this is the time to do that.
right,
I mean, the reality of it is, if we want to create redundancy to address all of those neighbors and streets that you're talking about, it's gonna cost $2.5 million.
Right.
So I don't understand why the benefit of spending $250,000 now and having the bill be
Mm,
2.25 later on.
right.
mean, I
It'll be
just-
higher later.
But you're gonna be higher later on, right?
What you're saying is, let's do, we should do
If
the
we're gonna do
whole
it, we do
thing.
the whole thing.
Right. Okay,
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't think we spend $250,000 of taxpayers' money to accommodate Oksana because she wants water across the street.
okay,
In my opinion, I mean, I don't think that's any different than the other.
I don't either, that's what I was. So
Yeah.
that's why I was asking, it's basically the same as the other one, why would we, I mean, in both
Same
cases,
thing.
it's like, okay, here's the cost, if you wanna pay for it, great,
Right.
but we're gonna do it ourselves.
We can't give her water unless we spend $250,000.
no, we could, she could put in a,
She could tap into that red dot right there. right?
yeah, and bring over like a 2-inch water.
If she wanted to.
If she
That's
wants,
for 30 grand. However,
right,
our long-term plan.
It's helpful
Yeah.
for it.
But it would be in the same boat if she did that because she wants water tomorrow,
Mhm.
then she would do that, but then. In a couple of years, if we do dual road, now she's in that district, now she's paying
Double,
the
pay for
O&M
that and.
for that,
Right.
which is a choice that,
that's a choice
It's
she
a
has.
choice.
Because
She-
obviously this
Yeah.
isn't something that we've done in the next 2 years,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to think long-term
Right.
for
I
the town.
understand.
that,
Doesn't
You
make
know,
more
we
sense.
can, so, and you know, maybe, I hate to say maybe in that time they're not there or something's happened, so.
I just, from my perspective, I don't see the benefit of spending $250,000 in the near future.
Mhm.
So the one resident benefits, I just assume if we're gonna do it, we bite the bullet, we go from that first red dot and do what we need to do and spend $2.5 million when it's appropriate to do that.
Okay.
In my opinion, I mean, it's.
I'm fine with that, but overall, if the board says, yes, you can put in a 2-inch service, you can do that, we're fine with that.
Right.
More or less what we're saying.
And
Yeah, she bears the
honestly, I
cost.
wouldn't, I think it makes sense to, I mean, if you wanna float out there, the third option, which is. If we build this out and it's $200,000, if you wanna reimburse the town for that cost,
Yeah,
that's a possibility too. I don't know if that's what anybody would wanna do, but.
Probably say no to
I know it's
that.
probably.
I would think so too, but I mean,
So,
that's,
Yes.
I don't say no to that also, so, but, all right, that's a good.
but with, yeah, we can have that on an agenda. But still, we need to go back and make sure that we're protected with the user agreement.
Yeah, we have to get that, a
Get
better
that,
one done
update it.
with Chris,
Yeah.
so.
The people that are all talking grants here have left the room, but my understanding is that the WIA money, the individual project money has gone up, but the number of grants have gone down, but is there WIA money perhaps available to do something, make this connection?
I have not asked,
Given the,
but I understand what you're
Problems with shutting water off and I would think that there'd be some grant money that might be able to come in, and how much 202B money could be pulled out of the, I don't know what's in the Kenny Davis consolidated right now.
$1.5 million, somewhere around there.
I mean, if you could pull some money out of that, get some grant money, maybe the cost comes down to, because everybody out there want to do a road, is that wells now?
Yeah, they're not gonna
How good
complain
they
about
are.
water,
Well,
about
yeah.
having it, if they don't want it.
Nice to see
Okay,
you.
all right.
Hey, see
You
you,
good with
John.
the other-
Have a great
good with
Easter.
the last
Make
one,
sure
John?
those Yankees win, okay?
John, you're okay with the truck? Okay,
They playing the Orioles?
Orioles and Yankees.
Orioles are gonna win, sorry, buddy.
all right, safe
Every
drive.
20 years I can emerge as an Orioles
Nancy
fan.
Nestor's pitching Saturday night.
Hey, let us know where you're sitting, so we'll be able to look.
Yeah.
right.
Every 20 years when the Orioles get good, I can put my hat back on again and I put it away when I go in the tank for the next 15.
See you.
See you.
Drive- Safe travels.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I guess that brings us to a close.
contract, no, we
Well,
have a contract now.
Just to let you know, what I put on the agenda to discuss. I've asked the board to allow me to purchase the truck like we did back in 2021. For the last truck that just came in, because this truck will probably be somewhere early 25. is when it'll probably show up. So in 24 we'll have to budget for it.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get us in the queue.
So,
So,
We're not over 3 yet.
no, we're not, but the last truck of this truck, we are up 38,000.
So there's a chance that we could be over 3 for the next one. 'Cause
Yeah,
This doesn't
if-
lock us in.
No, the next one, no,
Right.
this will be the price of the truck comes,
Okay,
but
so
the
this will lock
next,
us in.
yeah,
The
this will
next
lock
round-
us in. Next
The
truck.
next
probably
round will
over
be over 3.
So. And then also, our GPS unit, I was talking to Terry about this the other day. With going to do all this work about the lead and copper and with us going to the cloud for reporting everything. Our current unit is too old, so the software isn't compatible with doing the work we have to do out there. So we have to buy a new one, so we can do that. It's in on the agenda also. It's $8,800 for the new one, so
How much was it, Jim?
8,800, I believe, yeah. Yep, so it's got Windows 10 and they don't support Windows 10.
whatever happened with the, I missed a couple of BPW meetings, whatever happened with this building with the systems that were, the software wasn't working?
I think they've got it resolved. I mean, I'm not calling once a week anymore,
Okay,
so I think we're doing okay right now.
okay, but we didn't replace it, just,
We haven't replaced
Patching
it,
issues.
but they've been patching the issues, so it has been working.
okay.
Let's see what happens when summer comes.
Yeah, once a week.
Yeah, let's see what happens there, okay? So, yeah, I have, yes, the truck, the GP, this so you're aware, there's a budget transfer, and that is gonna be for. Because we had come over the first year, the truck, and the second year, we took that money and we put it in the account unexpended fund balance, so now I have a resolution to go back to unfunded balance. To purchase the truck that we're paying for, that just showed up last week.
Did
Okay,
you order that?
actually it was 6 of 21. So,
Are you kidding me?
yeah,
June of 21 and basically June of 23.
Right.
2 years.
I mean,
I know, it's this nuts, I can let you guys talk, it's fine, just,
All right.
I can't be in the room while he's like, you guys need to chatter.
Oh,
You wanna turn?
yeah, thank you.